Hey there guys, how's it going? Reaper here, and I'm back with another painting video. This time around we're taking a bit of a break from some of the actual mobs that you fight in Zombicide, and we're doing a player character. This is Spearhead, and it was requested by someone on one of the videos, so I figured I'd skip some of the more mobs and jump into this one. But we've started off with standard grey primer as we always do, and because he's got very grey skin, I've gone with Corpse Pale as the base colour for his flesh, and then we highlight up from that. So he's going to be a very sort of pale guy. Then we move on to Necromancer's Cloak for his trousers, the gloves and the spear handles. As normally in the artwork, we've got very dark everything around that his clothing wise, but I figured you want some variety because you want to sort of pop that little bit, so I do go with a different colour afterwards, but then dark wash sort of blends it all a bit more. Also, while doing Necromancer's Cloak, I actually cover all the metallic parts in this as well, as from my years of painting Warhammer, I've got sort of the feel of painting metallics onto a dark colour works really well. I can't explain why, it's just I always paint metallics onto dark colours when I can. Like for my orcs for Warhammer, I base coat them metallic black. But anyway, we're back onto the next colour now after Necromancer's Cloak is done, and it is leather brown. And this is literally for the rest of the model other than the metallics. So he's got sort of, I'm not really sure how to describe it. It looks like a skirt, but it's not quite a skirt, so I'm not sure what it's called. Maybe a loincloth sort of thing. But either way, the thing he's got around his waist, that sort of flowing half cape-ish, I'm doing in leather brown along with all the straps and the banding on his arms. I don't do the banding on his spear though with this, as once you have like your hands on the model, you'll notice there's sort of like some banding going across the spear handles, which I do in a lighter colour later on. There we go, that's it for the leather brown, and that's majority of the base colours already done, and the last one we're doing now is the gunmetal, and this is all the metallic parts, which he has a lot of random plates and buckles and things attached to him. Like, this model is clearly based on Mad Max characters from Fury Road. Like, I could easily see this guy dropping a spear, grabbing some spray paint and spraying silver into his face, and then going on a mad rampage. Which might happen in D&D in some sort of sense, but for Zombicide, it is just a guy based on that. That is all the metallics done, and then we're on to the second coat of Quartz Pale. Well, normally I wouldn't show this, but as you can see before, the model, the Quartz Pale just did not stick. It definitely needed a second coat, so I figured I'd actually record me doing the second coat so you guys can see where I fit these in, because I don't normally do one coat and then the same second straight after. I'll always move on to something else, so you're all constantly painting, and then while it's drying you're doing other colours and then you come back to it. It just sort of speeds up the process that bit more and just makes it a bit more efficient in your speed painting. Not that I'm attempting to speed paint these guys, it still took an hour and a half to do this single model. But there is the second coat, and then because there's no other highlights yet at the moment, I move on to the first of the actual highlights, which is Mummy Robes, and that is the flesh. And it is essentially a very, very light skin color. It's essentially an off-white, and this is just for all raised areas, anything but recessed areas on any of the flesh that you can see. So obviously I can just see the majority of the head is done, because I wanted this guy to look incredibly pale compared to all the other models that I paint, and the only really way to do that is to use an off-white, and then when you wash it darkens to a more skin color. That's it for the skin highlights. Then we move on to the leather highlights, which, to be honest, I wasn't originally going to do this, as I was just going to give it a dark wash and leave it at that. But once I had a bit of a look at the model, I figured I've got time till the Quartz Pale dries, I might as well highlight this as well and then do the washes. And actually this is where I come in and I do the braces on the spear. It looks, in the artwork, it looks like it's black tape wrapped around silver, but I didn't feel that looked right, because it looks like banding in the actual model, so I've gone with a leather strap wrapped around a black handle, as it just sort of blends into the more fantasy age, which is what it is. There we go, that's it for all the highlights and the banding, and now we're on to Dragon Red, and this is for inside the mouth, and on the artwork he's got what's essentially war paint on his head. So you don't have to do this part, but I figured it's not exactly the hardest thing to do to just paint a few stripes. So I just grabbed my detail brush and just freehand a few stripes across his head. And then of course come back and do the black eyes, because he actually has black makeup around his eyes. So I just painted them in Necromancer's cloak and then done the same with the artwork on the head. Of course, it doesn't have to be perfect, as it is done by himself, so it wasn't ever going to be perfect. But after that we come on to skeleton bone, and this is just for his bare teeth, because he is baring his teeth. And I also do the eyes, which I didn't capture on video, but I just dotted 2 eyes in with the same thing. And now we move on to dark tone, which is everything but flesh. So all the metallics, all the leathers, his bottoms, essentially, yeah, everything but flesh is covered in this dark tone. As you can see, as I'm doing it, I'm spreading it around more, so I'm blotting off the areas that have pulled that I don't want there, and then just moving them to an area I haven't done yet. And then it is same thing for soft tone, not flesh tone this time. I wanted a more browny colour than the red, so I went with soft tone and just all of the skin. And then once it's covered, I go back around and take off a lot of this wash, as I want that flesh colour to come through still. There we go, that is it for the model, and it's actually been fun to paint. I might actually do some more of the heroes, as there's a little bit more variety in the heroes than there is the mobs, because the mobs are basically big, massive, hulking things that punch you, whereas there's some weird, wonderful player characters in this box set. But we're just doing standard black base as we always do. But that is it, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and check out some of the videos and the photos that I'm putting up now. Like, subscribe if you did enjoy, and I will catch you in the next video. See ya.